Hi, I'm Steve Clemens, and I have a question. Has Israel committed domicide in Gaza? Let's get to the bottom line. Neighborhood by neighborhood, and mosque by mosque, and school by school, Israel has systematically crushed the civilian infrastructure in Gaza. Over the course of the war, we've seen so many homes and buildings targeted that we may have become just desensitized. And besides the accusation of genocide, which is the attempt to destroy a nation, UN experts have been warning that Israel has carried out scholasticide, the destruction of the education system, and domicide, the destruction of people's homes. According to international law, the wanton destruction of property that's not justified by military necessity is a war crime. But even if it is a war crime, how does that translate to the more than 2 million Palestinians in Gaza who have to live in an area that has become completely uninhabitable? Today, we're talking with Balakrishnan Rajagopal, UN Special Rapporteur on the right to adequate housing and Associate Professor in the Department of Urban Studies at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Professor, thank you so much for joining us today. Look, I want our audience to understand this word, which many of them may not have heard before, domicide. Tell us what it means and how does it stack up in the world of war crimes?
Well, the crime of domicide is one which involves the systematic or widespread destruction of housing. Housing destruction on an individual basis, for example, when the destruction of a house is not justified as a military objective, is already a war crime under the Geneva Convention.
So that is a war crime. So if it is a target and there's no military reason or rationale, that is a war crime in and of itself.
That's right. It is already a war crime to destroy a house if there is no military justification. The prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, Karim Khan, gave a public interview in Cairo after he visited Rafah last year, when he said exactly the same thing. He said, houses are protected objects, hospitals are protected objects, schools are protected objects. So there are many that are protected objects under the Geneva Conventions, and houses are among them. The problem is this: houses individually, when they're destroyed, are of course war crimes. But if you destroy an entire swathe of neighborhood or an entire city for that matter, is that a crime? And in international law, it may be a crime if you do it with the objective of obliterating or erasing a people in whole or in part. That's a definition of genocide under the 1948 Genocide Convention. But suppose you didn't have that intention, or the intention couldn't be established clearly, but you still engage in large-scale destruction of housing, then is that still a crime or not? And I would like to actually advocate for the recognition of such large destruction of housing, whether or not it is genocide. I'm not saying that it is not a genocide in the case of destruction of housing in Gaza. It very well is. But on the other hand, even if it isn't in any conflict, it should still be recognized as a crime, and that's domicide.
And you want to have it written into the Geneva Convention? You want to have it written into law?
I would like states to consider recognizing domicide as a crime under law, but it won't be under the Geneva Conventions, but it will be through the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, which already lists several acts which constitute crimes against humanity. And there is no reason why it cannot be amended to include domicide.